Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's session. We're pleased to welcome Morgan Marshall and Sally Massaweeb on the line from Community Financial Counseling Services. And our today's session will be on Newcomer, financial inclusion and access to benefit support, opportunities for intersectoral collaboration. So on behalf of Prosper Canada and our presenters at Community Financial Counseling Services, we look forward to this chance to talk to you about how you can help newcomer Canadians access benefits and collaborate as organizations to support this work. Prosper Canada is located in Toronto, which is situated upon traditional territories. The territories include the Wendat and Anishinaabe Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nations, and the Métis Nation. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. Our speakers are from Community Financial Counseling Services, CFCS, which is located on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional homeland of Indigenous peoples. CFCS respects the treaties as intended by Indigenous peoples, acknowledging the harms and mistakes of the past and the responsibility to move forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. We acknowledge and thank everyone joining us today from traditional territories across Turtle Island, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to work and live on this land. Prosper Canada is a national charity dedicated to expanding opportunities for people living in poverty through program and policy innovation. As Canada's leading national champion of financial empowerment, we work with government, businesses, and community groups to develop and promote financial policies, programs, and resources that transform lives and foster the prosperity of all Canadians. Community Financial Counseling Services is a community-based, nonprofit, charitable organization with nearly 50 years of experience helping to meet the unique and often complex needs of individuals and families in Manitoba who are experiencing financial challenges. In addition to financial coaching, counseling, and financial literacy and empowerment initiatives, CFCS coordinates the largest free community volunteer income tax program tax clinic in Canada. The agency actively engages in capacity building through collaborative partnerships and the development and delivery of a robust tax and benefits training program for volunteers and frontline staff at other community agencies. It's my pleasure to introduce our speakers from CFCS Services in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Morgan Marshall leads the tax program at Community Financial Counseling Services. She coordinates Canada's largest CVITP clinics and has developed innovative solutions to provide low barrier access to free tax preparation and benefits for vulnerable populations using technology to magnify opportunity and impact. Sally Massaweeb is a financial counselor and financial empowerment coordinator with CFCS. She's the lead curriculum developer for CFCS's financial coaching and tax filing and access to benefits programs, and facilitates much of the agency's training to equip frontline staff and volunteers with the tools to compassionately empower their communities. And I'm the manager of learning and training at Prosper Canada, leading learning and training strategy initiatives, including the development and delivery of financial empowerment training and resources for organizations supporting financially vulnerable Canadians. Prior to joining Prosper Canada, I worked in the public and private education sectors, including overseeing the training and development of frontline staff and educators. So we have a very exciting session for you today, and we are so pleased to have Morgan and Sally on the line to present their insights and experience on supporting newcomer Canadians living on a low income, talking about how to help these communities and populations access benefits, and to talk about how we as service providers can find opportunities to collaborate and work together in this area. So this is our agenda for today. We'll begin by talking about why access to benefits is so important for newcomers and what your role could be in providing support. We'll also talk about where your organization is on the continuum of providing support. You may be an organization already providing these types of services to your clients, or maybe you're interested in adding to or expanding existing programs and services in this area. So Morgan and Sally will share some concrete examples of the variety of different types of services and supports that you can provide from one end of the spectrum, providing minimal touch supports, all the way to providing full service supports. And no matter what type of support you're already providing, it's important to approach financial and benefits conversations in a sensitive manner. We'll touch on trauma-informed approach to benefits conversations and the types of questions that you can ask your community members to determine if the benefits conversation will be of value for them. And lastly, we'll demonstrate a tool called the Benefits Wayfinder. This is a plain language tool to help practitioners and community members determine what federal, provincial, and territorial benefits that they may be eligible for. The tool can help you provide a recommended list of benefits for your clients by answering a few questions and includes information on eligibility, how to apply, and where to find additional help and to contact agencies in your area if additional services are needed. So these topics, along with other details on training, financial coaching, financial conversations, and how to use the Benefits Wayfinder are available through training that's offered by Prosper Canada. You can find more information on this in the last few slides of this presentation, which is available for you to download. And we'll leave some time at the end for a question and answer period. So please feel free to use the Q&A feature that's at the bottom of your screen. You can enter questions at any time throughout the presentation, and then we will get to as many of your questions as possible at the end of today's session. So with that, I will turn it over to Morgan to begin today's workshop.
Wonderful. Well, just to echo Carrie, welcome, and we are thrilled to have you joining us today. Whether you are a frontline service provider working directly with your program participants, or if you are part of program design and leadership, tasked with guiding the mission and vision of your organization. Regardless, we hope that today's session will offer you insights on how impactful benefits access for newcomers can be and the tools to consider how you might begin or continue implementing opportunities for financial inclusion and access to benefits within your organization. And this might look different for each of you depending on the strengths and capacities of your organization and what gaps exist for your community. But wherever you find yourself, there are opportunities to incorporate access to benefits into the work that you are already doing. So let's begin by exploring why access to benefit support matters for newcomers. So many people are eligible to receive benefits right away when they arrive in Canada, but perhaps they don't know that they exist or they don't know how to apply for them. And having the support of someone walking alongside them through these processes can provide clarity and much needed navigation through what can be a large and overwhelming process. And it provides an opportunity to introduce them to the Canadian tax and benefit system, which they will continue to use for the rest of their life here in Canada. Individuals who receive this benefit navigation support are much more likely to be able to actually access all of the benefits that they are eligible for. And so by increasing an individual's access to benefits, you are playing a key role in helping them increase their income and financial well-being, empowering them to take control of their financial situation. We know, and research shows, that the stresses of living in poverty can have an impact on all areas of life. And so receiving benefits and having more financial breathing room, if you will, can also increase bandwidth in other areas of life as their basic needs are getting met. So throughout today's presentation, we're going to give you some examples of the impact that tax filing and access to benefits can have on an individual's financial situation and the potential to significantly improve their quality of life. Here at CFCS, we often talk about tax filing as being the doorway to benefits and other resources here in Canada. The vast majority of benefit programs are either accessed through tax filing or rely upon documents like proof of income statements or notices of assessment that are provided through this process of filing taxes. And annual tax filing is also required to keep these benefits going. So let's take a look at a few examples of how this plays out for some newcomers to Canada in two different situations. So we're going to start off with a newly arrived single parent who is making their home in Manitoba. this person and their children are here as permanent residents or perhaps protected people. And right away upon arrival in Canada, there are some applications that we can help them with. Now, these examples that we're going to go through are really intended to demonstrate the impact of accessing benefits. And later in the presentation, Sally's going to walk you through the Benefits Wayfinder tool, which can be just that, a tool to help you understand and identify who is eligible for what and why, if those ins and outs are not something that you are already familiar with. But for the moment, for this family, we know what their world income is, that there are children, and where they are settling here in Manitoba. And so, therefore, we know that they will be eligible for the Canada Child Benefit, or CCB, the Goods and Services Tax Credit, or GST, and the Climate Action Incentive Payments because they're in Manitoba. So, with a completed application upon arrival, they will begin receiving CCB the month after they arrive until the following June, and GST and the Climate Action Incentive payments the first quarter following their arrival until the next April. Filing a tax return for the year that they arrived, once they're able to do so, will continue to keep these benefits flowing for the next benefit year. But again, right when they arrive, we are able to make this connection to benefits for them. Looking at the same family, we can see now that they've been here for some time and their situation has changed a little bit. The parent, presumably, is now employed part-time, making $15,000, and they have found a place to rent in the private market. All great news. They will have been receiving CCB and GST and Climate Action Incentive payments because we helped them with those applications when they first arrived. But if they do not file a tax return, then those benefits are going to stop. That will leave them living solely on the income earned through employment. However, if they were to file a tax return, then an outcome like this could be their story instead. So as you can see here, alongside their annual employment income of $15,000, filing a tax return is going to renew their GST, CCD, and Climate Action Incentive payments for another benefit year, as well as open the doors to receive other credits through tax filing and to be eligible for other benefit programs like Manitoba's Rent Assist program. So all in all, this family could be eligible for $27,085 in additional benefits, bringing their total annual income up to over 42 grand. That's more than doubled what they were living on before. And this is a very real outcome, using real numbers based on the 2021 tax year and with this family being in Manitoba. And these details are going to change depending on where the client is living and what programs and credits are available. But it's clear, you can see the impact to tax filing that can have on a family's finances. So let's take a look at another newcomer with a very similar situation who is here in Canada, but with a slightly different residency status. So this household at first glance appears to be the same as the one that we just talked about, but with one important difference. They are here as temporary residents or perhaps refugee claimants. Residency status matters when considering what benefits people are eligible for, as it's going to change what they are able to get, but we can see and we know that there is still tremendous opportunity for impact for these folks. So as you can see, this family is eligible once again for the GST tax credit and climate action incentive payments because of their household living situation, and we know their world income. And we can do these applications right away when they first arrive in Canada. We can see, though, that they are not eligible for the Canada Child Benefit when they arrive. However, a temporary resident after being in Canada for 18 months will become eligible. And so completing that application with them when they arrive means that their CCB will begin when that 18 months has passed and they become eligible. Once again, filing a tax return for the year is going to be necessary to keep these benefits flowing. So let's take a look at the outcomes. So upon filing a return, this family is going to have that GST and climate action incentive payments renewed for another benefit year and is going to allow them to access some additional credits through filing as well. And so these additional benefits obtained through filing their taxes is nearly $5,000. Now, that's not quite as much as our previous household who were permanent residents, but $5,000 is still $5,000 and can make such a tremendous difference to folks. And remember that we also supported them to complete that CCB application back when they arrived. And so after they've been here for 18 months as temporary residents, they're going to begin getting CCB as well. So how can you as frontline staff or those developing programming support newcomers to access benefits? Well, first, you can help to identify eligibility for different benefit programs. This means opening up a conversation about benefits with your participant and maybe using the Benefits Wayfinder tool, which we'll talk about in a bit, to help identify what benefits they could be eligible for. And the goal here is to open the door of awareness to what they might be eligible for with their particular situation. And this might be all that you do with your client, but you've begun the process of getting them connected. Secondly, you might be able to support your clients by assisting them with those applications for the programs. That might mean developing a plan together, checking in on progress with your client around any actions involved in these applications, or directly assisting them with the forms and making arrangements to have them delivered. The goal here is to empower your client to go through these steps to access the benefits with the knowledge that they've got your support as needed along the way. And thirdly, and really importantly, is you don't need to have all of the answers. Refer as needed to reputable sources and resources to help your client access the service and support that they need. Facilitating that connection to benefits and being a trusted and familiar liaison to other sources of information is that navigational role, which is so helpful and important as folks are exploring these options. Access to benefits is a really vital part of poverty reduction, and by integrating these conversations and access to benefits into your existing programs, the outcomes for your participants can be improved. But how? And that brings us to the idea of the service continuum. So we're going to spend a little while on this slide, so hang tight. But each of the 5 waypoints of financial empowerment and access to benefits shown are just opportunities to imagine what integrating access to benefits into your program might look like. Your organizations might already be at different points on the continuum, and it's really important to note that there is no bad place to be here, as each waypoint can be built upon the strengths and programming your organization already delivers, and each serve a really important purpose. So as we go through the different waypoints, consider your organization, your team, or your personal role, and what actions you might be able to incorporate into what you are already doing to amplify impact. We can see the impact and importance of accessing benefits and engaging participants with financial empowerment initiatives. So the question is how to do this, how to get from where you currently are to where you might want to get to. And to do that, let's take a look at the first waypoint on our continuum, which is recognition and awareness. So at this point on the continuum, you know that finances have an impact on people, but perhaps your organization doesn't currently have a dedicated financial empowerment program, nor do you have the capacity to guide participants through lengthy benefit applications, etc. But what you can do at this waypoint is recognize and bring awareness. So what might this look like? Well, it might mean networking with other organizations in your sector or related areas to find out who you can make those referrals to. Or perhaps it means finding out where there are free tax clinics through the Community Volunteer Income Tax Program in your area, or virtually, because that's an option now, that you can refer to. Maybe it means simply having materials to provide to your participants about resources and other organizations' services. With this minimal touch approach, clients will gain new resources and a direction to begin their benefits access journey. Waypoint number 2 is that of connection. It's making connections about benefits and well-being for your clients, getting them connected to resources and connecting them to other referral partners. And so this might be you if you have some ability to walk alongside clients and help them access services provided by other organizations as a supplement to the main work your organization is doing. Implementing this might look like getting training on using the Benefits Wayfinder tool and then using it in sessions with your clients, or perhaps as something that your intake staff can offer. Maybe you are able to take Prosper Canada's training on having financial conversations to learn some tools about how to bring up money as part of the conversations you're already having. You might seek out collaborations with other organizations that can allow you to have a more in-depth, formalized referral process, which keeps you in the loop with your participant to provide them with support. And an example here is CFCS has what we call our Verified Partner Program for exactly this purpose. Local social service providers can become verified partners with us and directly connect their clients to our tax preparation services. It allows the client to have a trusted service provider involved into the process, but taps into our capacity as a tax resource, leading to higher successful outcomes as a whole. So at this waypoint, the light touch approach, clients will be connected to resources and supported to access services with your partner organization. Our third waypoint is supported navigator. And at this point on the continuum, you are raising awareness and creating connections just like waypoints 1 and 2, but perhaps you also have the ability to go a bit deeper into these pieces. Perhaps you even have a team or program doing the same work as you, and it's an important service that your organization offers alongside the other initiatives. So what can you do at this waypoint? Well, you can include basic financial conversations as part of all of your services to open the doors for benefits opportunities. Perhaps you understand the requirements for some different benefit programs and can help clients identify eligibility and complete simple applications. Or perhaps you can file simple tax returns. Maybe you have robust referral connections and can be part of larger conversations around communities of practice and gaining awareness of issues that your participants are faced with, advocating for your clients and learning from other teams who are doing the same kind of work as you. With this medium touch approach, clients will be able to access basic services directly with you and have you as a trusted navigator through other referrals. At our fourth waypoint, you or your organization maybe has a financial empowerment focused program, perhaps including financial counseling, asset building, money management, tax filing, or access to benefits, or a combination of these things. And you identify this work as very important to what you do as an organization and aim to support your participants directly as much as possible, referring outside though and requesting support of other organizations for areas outside your areas of expertise or programs. So what might this next step look like for you? Maybe it means you run a CBITP clinic during tax season, or include tax filing as one of the interventions offered year-round by staff or volunteers. Perhaps your staff or volunteers are exploring new opportunities for professional development to bring in expertise on access to benefits and other financial empowerment initiatives in-house where possible. With this high touch approach, clients may be able to see you as a one-stop shop for their financial empowerment support. And the final waypoint here are those organizations who are full service and are able to build capacity within other organizations to enhance and empower them in the work that they do on these topics where they are financial empowerment champions. So, this might be you if your organization has a lot of experience and knowledge with navigating an area of financial empowerment. If you are seen as a valued resource and referral partner for other organizations and programs or teams within your organization, this might be you. So, at this waypoint, what are some things that maybe you can be doing? Well, if you're able, you could provide training and resources for other organizations seeking to do financial empowerment work and build capacity through professional development. You might consider taking on more complex tax situations in your tax clinic and complete benefit applications and the often lengthy follow-up navigations that can come from those. Maybe you are an active participant in financial empowerment communities and collaborative efforts to support and improve financial empowerment access and service provision and policy. Advocating and providing expertise on complex issues may be another area that you can contribute to. And so, with this approach, you are able to hopefully spark light bulb moments for others that finances are a big deal and have a big impact on your program participants, no matter what it is that the main focus of your organization is doing. So, to put all of this into context and to share as an example, here at CFCS, we have very well established programs and highly experienced people in our financial counseling and tax and access to benefits programs in particular. And so we would place ourselves at the fifth waypoint with these programs, and we seek out opportunities to share our knowledge and build capacity in these areas. But at the same time, we don't do asset building, which is another financial empowerment intervention. And so, with that facet of financial empowerment, we are more at the minimal to light touch end of our continuum, referring interested clients to our local partners in this area. So, on one end of the continuum, we are able to build into other organizations with our tax filing and access to benefits expertise. And on the other, we make lots of referrals to partner organizations around asset building. Both are good, both have their place in our service delivery, and both build upon the strengths and the mission of our organization and that of our partner organization. So, where are you on this continuum? And what might you be able to do to add these components into what you're already doing? Could you put out some brochures for your participants on the front desk? Can you incorporate conversations about money into your existing discussions? Are you able to build capacity and share information with another team or organization? Are you able to connect to another local organization and create that referral process between your programs? At any of these waypoints, maybe Prosper Canada's Benefit Wayfinder tool will be a great starting place for you and your clients to learn about and access resources around benefits. All of these things and points along this continuum can serve to strengthen your programs and ultimately the outcomes and quality of life for your clients when they are supported to access the benefits that they are entitled to.
So let's dive in a little bit to how do you actually do this? So perhaps you've got a sense of where you fall on that continuum, and we'll bring you back to that as sort of we wrap things up. But we know that starting conversations about money when finances may not necessarily be the program delivery that is in your organization can sometimes be a little bit uncomfortable. So let's take a bit of time to talk about how we can bring this into naturally into the programs that you deliver. And to start with, what we want to make sure we consider is what we consider a trauma-informed approach about any of these conversations we might have around finances. Finances can be a tender topic for a lot of people, but we also know that many of the participants we might be working with in our communities perhaps have had some trauma in their pasts. They may come from a country where violence was part of what they had to live with and they have escaped that. And we are very aware of the fact that trauma can certainly influence the vulnerabilities of a particular client group. And we want to make sure we are always cognizant of that. And we take this trauma-informed approach, recognizing trauma can create all sorts of difficult conditions around emotional and personal safety. So there are 5 pillars here of the trauma-informed approach, or principles we want to consider. First one being safety. We want to make sure that we create a physically and emotionally safe environment to hold these conversations around finances and other matters, and ideally that is done in a private environment where possible. Secondly, we want to make sure that we are supporting autonomy and choice with the folks that we are serving, that they know that they are in control of all the decisions. We are able to come alongside them and support them, but ultimately it is their choice that determines how they choose to move forward. And to do that with a collaborative type of an approach, where they are deciding the when and the how of the movement forward. If it isn't the right fit in the moment, if they perhaps don't have the mental or the emotional bandwidth to manage the process or that particular issue in the moment, then that is totally okay, and that they have the role in determining how the process is going to unfold. That we are also creating trust between ourselves and our participants, and that they know that we will respect their privacy and their confidentiality, and that relationship that we can create with them as we work with them as they navigate this process becomes really foundational to the success of the outcomes. And then the last principle is that we are working from a place of strengths and empowerment, that we acknowledge and validate the experiences the individuals might have had, their feelings about the process, about the things they've experienced in the past, and that we are recognizing that, and we are supporting and encouraging them as they develop the sense of certainty that they are ready to move forward. So this is a really important approach to always be bearing in mind as we are engaging with clients around the discussions around benefits and finances. How do you know whether or not a benefits conversation is going to be helpful? Again, taking it from the lens of trauma-informed approach, how do we start this? Well, there are 3 key questions that can often, the answers to them can often identify whether or not a further discovery into the process of looking at benefits might be beneficial or not. And these are 3 screening questions that can be quite easy to engage in and to bring into the conversations you're having with your participants. First one being, have you filed your taxes in the last number of years? Obviously, 5 years might be ideal, but if we're working with a newcomer community, they may not have been here 5 years. But if there are gaps in tax filing, or if you've engaged with a newcomer who's recently arrived, and we can go back to the examples that Morgan identified of benefits they could be eligible for right when they first arrived in the country, depending on their residency status, asking, are you receiving those benefits through the tax system already? A no to that could mean definitely a possibility to say there could be more that you may be missing because steps have not been taken. Can we help with that? Second question could be, have you recently experienced, or do you expect to experience, a fairly significant change in your lived circumstances? That could be a retirement. It could be somebody who is expecting a child or bringing another dependent into their home. It could be that they are facing a health issue. Those changes can often mean that there are things that they might not have been eligible for in the past, but they currently could be, that could be explored through the use of a tool such as the Benefit Navigator or Benefit Wayfinder tool. And then a question about, do you have enough money to make ends meet? That's not saying, do you earn enough money? Do you spend too much on fast food? It's not getting into those kinds of personal details, but in the sense of the individual, do they feel like they have more month left at the end of their money than they do money left at the end of the month? And there could be possibilities for exploring benefit eligibility as a result of answers to those questions. If the answers to the questions all indicate, yep, taxes are all filed, getting all of the things I was entitled to when I first arrived, no big life change, and I'm managing my money okay, exploring a benefits conversation in more depth is perhaps not something that is necessary in that moment with that individual, but perhaps what you're doing is making sure that it's understood that there is opportunity should something be different for you down the road. A change might be coming, or something is experienced that leaves you questioning, do I have everything I'm entitled to? You've opened that doorway that, again, Morgan mentioned, to be able to have those benefit conversations. This is a safe place where you can go to get help if you are looking for some information or more details on eligibility. So we're going to take a bit of time to actually navigate our way through the Benefits Wayfinder tool so that you can see it in operation and see all the different ways that it might connect well with the different programs that you are perhaps running in your particular organization. So this Benefits Wayfinder tool is intended to identify for individuals specifically based on their personal lived circumstances, what benefits that they might be eligible for in their situation. Give them recommendations that they can pursue further or look into in more detail to determine whether they are eligible or not. There's an overview, sort of a broad picture of all the different benefits that you could be entitled to and the parameters around those. And it gives us an opportunity to organize on a dashboard for the individual participants their particular benefits and identify those that might be priority for them, those that they're already getting and don't need to look into further, and those that they're perhaps interested in getting. The Benefits Wayfinder tool is particularly helpful to be working with individuals who are living on a low income that might not be getting everything they're entitled to, newcomers who are new to the community and perhaps are not aware of the federal and or provincial benefits they're entitled to receive. Somebody who has not ever filed a tax return before, this can demonstrate impact of tax filing. If you file a return, all of these potential benefits could exist once those applications are completed and the tax returns are used to back up the information. But it can also be beneficial for somebody who is receiving some benefits, but perhaps is not aware of other benefits that they might also be eligible for as a result of their particular demographic or lived circumstances, or as connected benefits to the ones they are receiving. So we're going to navigate our way through the Benefit Wayfinder tool using a persona. And this is, I'd like you to meet Aaliyah. Aaliyah is 34 and she's divorced. She's a single parent of a 7-year-old child. She has arrived in Canada with her PR status only last year. So she's a newcomer to Canada. She is working, earning a small income of $8,900 a year, but is also going to school and is registered in university part-time. Currently is living and renting with her extended family, but that is perhaps not ideal for long-term. That's just where she is at the moment. And she tells us that she has not filed her tax return. So there's certainly an opportunity here to be able to help Aaliyah look at other benefit possibilities by going through the Benefit Wayfinder tool. So if you can just sort of bear in mind these situations, we're going to walk through the Navigator tool with Aaliyah's circumstances in mind. So I'm just going to jump over to the Benefits Wayfinder. So Benefits Wayfinder, you're going to find at benefitswayfinder.org. And if you like, you can pull it up on your own browser and sort of follow along or do your own navigating here. But you'll always come to this first starting page. And this starting page is going to give you an opportunity to determine how you navigate through the tool in whatever way is most beneficial for the client that you're dealing with. It always starts with this questionnaire being the first thing that you will see on the main starting page, but it's not the only way to navigate. So let's start off by just taking a look at the top right. We can see that the province that has been selected up on the top right is Manitoba. We know Aaliyah is a Manitoban, and so that's what we will use. That automatically is going to tell us the recommendations that could be provided will be both federal and those that apply to Manitoba. You can select whatever province is applicable in your lived circumstances or with the organization you're from. So we're going to be looking at Manitoba outcomes here. On the blue bar across the top, it gives us a number of different ways that we can begin our walk through the Wayfinder tool. So we can start with looking at starting points, which would be, what are the big changes that you might be perhaps dealing with coming up? That could be I'm about to have a child, could be that I am part of a group that is a newcomer. So you could jump to different starting points here by choosing that as an option across the blue bar and be able to look at the different options that might come up as a result of that. You'll also find those if we just scroll down the page where it says not sure where to start. We can choose to say, well, I'm already getting some benefits. I want to know about others that might be connected and click on the receiving some benefits, or I'm not getting any, or we can click on something specific like newcomer to Canada. And this will then sort all of the possible benefits that could be applicable to Aaliyah's situation simply based on that particular community group. And that can be a way to wander through it. Again, it's all sorted by federal and provincial. So starting points is one way that we could go through here. We could also just choose browse all benefits and enter a specific benefit that Aaliyah might be questioning here. This will often be a great option if you know that perhaps the client is asking for specific information on one benefit that you'd like to provide them, like Canada Child Benefit. We can just enter that in here and we can then have it sorted to find that particular benefit. Sometimes it's also a case that the individual that we are working with is on a very limited timeline or on a limited bandwidth mentally in terms of what they're able to deal with in the moment, and they need to be able to just look at some key points to perhaps get them encouraged and begin the process. And so in that case, we could look specifically at things that are either an easy application by just checking the box that says easy, and then the program is going to sort all the benefits that might apply that are very easy to apply for. Perhaps we need to look for ones where tax filing is not required by clicking that box, because we know this client has not filed their taxes and there's perhaps a barrier to that happening immediately. And so while we're helping sort that for a client, perhaps there are certain things that they might be able to look into already, and we can assist them with that. So there's an opportunity to be able to cull a number of the benefits and focus very specifically on certain ones. But one of the best ways to be able to go through the Wayfinder tool, if you have the opportunity to do this with your clients, is through the use of the questionnaire. And that's where we always start on the landing page here. So by going to the questionnaire and answering these questions in Aaliyah's situation, that's going to help the Wayfinder tool to identify what might be something that her lived experience makes her eligible for. So we're going to walk through these few questions based on Aaliyah's situation. So we know from the profile we've been given or the questions we've asked our client, Aaliyah has not filed her tax return yet. So we're going to say no to that. She is 34, so we'll choose the appropriate range, and her residency status is permanent or legal resident. Again, as Morgan identified in the example she gave, that residency status becomes very, very crucial to both provincial and federal benefit eligibility. So that's an important one to answer. But as you can see on all of the questions, there is the opportunity to choose skip and not answer a question if that is either unknown or uncomfortable for the client. That will mean that it doesn't give the tool the opportunity to hone the recommendations as thoroughly, but it still is going to give very, very good outcomes for the individual. Important to note that as we're entering Aaliyah's information in here, so we're going to enter the fact that she has income from employment, but she is also a student, and you can choose whichever are the circumstances here. None of Aaliyah's personal information gets saved in the tool. What will be provided is session information for her, and I'll demonstrate that in just a moment, but there is nothing that's going to identify this as Aaliyah. You don't put in birth dates or social insurance numbers or names and address. You're just putting in some of the gross demographics that is going to help to identify potential eligibility. So how much does everyone in your household together make in 1 year? In the context of everyone here, we're referring really in this context to the tax household, which would be Aaliyah and her child. So Aaliyah's income is below $15,000. How many people live in your home? Again, the tax household is going to be just herself and her daughter or son, so 2. Does she care for children under 18? That's yes. And is anybody living with a disability? We've no information on that, so we'll say and presume no. Now, right away after answering those 8 questions, you can go right to the dashboard and begin to look at what are the potential benefits that Aaliyah and her household might be eligible for. However, there is an opportunity here to answer some additional questions that can further refine or pull in benefit eligibility. And presuming that the client is comfortable with that, we would then proceed with the questionnaire. Again, remembering that this is all based on collaboration and client choice. If they say enough's enough, then we don't take it any further. So going on to additional questions we can answer here. The next question is about living arrangements. Where do you live? Well, we know Aaliyah is living with her family. So the best answer here is I am renting, and that still will give us many opportunities to look at alternatives to her current lived circumstances. Are you pregnant or expecting a child? We have nothing to indicate that's the case. Lengths of stay in Canada since age 18 is 1 year. We don't have a veteran as a spouse or a parent. nor do we have a parent or spouse who's passed away in our scenario. So that's actually added additional recommendations to our assessment through the tool. And so let's go and take a look at what has shown up as Aaliyah's possibilities here on her dashboard. As soon as we take it to the dashboard page, we can see number one, it indicates on our left-hand menu here that there are 18 different recommendations that are amongst all of this list. And we're going to have an opportunity to go through some of those recommendations and identify which ones might be a priority, which ones might she already be getting or is not interested in for one reason or another. And as we select them, you'll see that the numbers on our left-hand menu change, and it identifies which ones did I say I was interested in, which ones am I going to ignore because they don't apply. And that helps then to be able to narrow down those things where there might be action that needs to be taken. And if you are, using that continuum Morgan said, if you are on the light end of the continuum, light touch, perhaps this is the list that you provide to her and connect her to a collaborative organization. If you are in the medium or moving toward the full touch waypoints on that continuum, perhaps those are the ones that you're able to then download the applications and give further, more detailed navigational assistance. What we see right away, though, here on our dashboard is in the green box an important sort of alert that identifies that your residency status can make a big difference to your eligibility for benefits. And if you're not certain of what your status is, it provides a link to the Canada's legal aid programs by province, so that if there are questions you have that you need to clarify around your status before you apply, that would give you a connection directly to that. So we can see here on this page that there are many different benefits that we won't go through them all in detail, but let's just take a look at a couple of them. So we'll start off with Canada Child Benefit. You'll note that right on that first page, as we see it, we have an opportunity to remove it. If we said this doesn't apply, we can add it to benefits I'm already receiving if they were, and that would post it into a different spot on that left-hand menu. But it also, in a nutshell, gives you a bit of a blurb. So this is going to be for parents of children under the age of 18, could pay you an amount per month. But we can also see that it shows right on the front page here that it's a complicated application and tax filing is required. And we can also see what identification is needed. But we can look in a little bit more detail here. If we click on the underlined benefit name here, that will take you to a page within the Wayfinder that always looks similar for every benefit that is shown in this tool. Again, how complicated it is, whether tax filing is required, identification is always shown at the top. And in the yellow alert here now we see, hey, you said no to the tax filing. You haven't filed a tax return yet. This benefit requires tax filing. So that's got to be step one in the process of trying to access this benefit. And from within this alert, there is a hyperlink that will take you to information on why do you need to file your taxes? Why is it important? And it gives you some specific details on different benefits that come as a result of filing a tax return, many of which were the ones that would have shown up in those examples Morgan gave earlier in the session. So this can help provide information for you as an organization looking to support the client in terms of why is it important, when do you need to file a return if tax filing is not something your programs already do. But in addition, there's a link right within this section here that will take you to the federal government Canada Community Volunteer Income Tax, or CVITP program, where you can also then click on find a tax clinic in your area, enter the information. The only thing that's required here is Manitoba. And then you can actually be taken directly to whatever is the list of the tax clinics that are currently open at the time. Our current one is not actually shown on here as it's renewed every year, but it will be up there. But then you can give the information to say, okay, where could you go? If we can't do it, what's a collaborative organization we might be able to connect to increase and enhance our ability to serve our clients by connecting them directly to doing the tax return? Because we know you might be eligible for that Canada Child Benefit, but until you actually have filed your taxes, you're not going to be able to get anywhere with that. So that's a really important link that is right into the, as soon as we see it show up, because we have indicated that we have not filed the taxes, but tax filing is required for this program. Also within the tool, you will see that there are connections to other benefits that could come as a result of being eligible for the Canada Child Benefit. So in the section that says this benefit leads to others, if you're eligible for the Canada Child Benefit, then you might also be eligible for any one of these other benefits depending on your lived circumstances. So again, we can see layers here of navigating support. You need to file the tax return, apply for the Canada Child Benefit, see about whether the eligibility for other benefits might also be possible. Within each of the different benefit pages that are shown in the Navigator tool, you will always be given the same 3 key pieces of information. What is the eligibility for that particular benefit that you might need to consider to dig deeper and say, okay, this popped up on my dashboard, and let's look in more detail. Am I really eligible for it in my circumstances? What needs to be provided in the way of ID to supplement or support my eligibility for this benefit? Is it just an application or is more required? And then how do you actually go about applying for it? And right from within the how to apply are links to the actual benefit programs that and the benefit applications on the different government websites so that you can get it all in one place. So I'm eligible for this. I know I need to do my taxes, but once I've done it, what are the forms that I need to fill out? And the links for those are right within the different benefits in the Benefit Wayfinder tool. So it can become certainly a very, very handy one-stop shop to be able to make all of these connections happen for a client. So we've gone through this with Aaliyah and she's absolutely interested. That's one we want to make sure gets posted onto her list of possible benefits to apply for. So we'll check off interested here. And then if we go back to our dashboard, let's go back up a bit here. We can now see that it's moved it to the interested category. At this point, perhaps that is all that Aaliyah is able to manage in the moment. She knows she has to do her tax return, and so there is a need to do that first, and that's a big chunk of bandwidth that's going to be needed to do that. So perhaps she's not in a place where she's ready to be able to take it any further in the moment. And so there are a couple of things that you can do, and this also might depend on where you find yourself at the different waypoints of that continuum. Perhaps all you're able to do is help with navigating through this to be able to give you a list of the different benefits that the client is eligible for. So there are a number of things you can do with this. Number one is on our our top right here, we can actually download a PDF of this information for the client. We can also print the information that will give all of the different benefits that were identified in this particular navigating arrangement, and it'll give the details to the client for them to be able to follow up on or use at a later date. But what we're also able to do here is to save this session. So none of Aaliyah's personal information gets saved, but the information about what were the recommendations that were identified, all of that gets saved. And when we say save my session, we would be able to copy the URL and email it to Aaliyah or email it to yourself if you are her support person, so that you can follow up at a later date when she comes back and says, I've done my taxes, or you know you've helped them do the taxes. Now we can go back to this session and we can identify what it was that we wanted to do simply by clicking on the link that'll be sent to you in the email or to the client. It'll take them right back to this dashboard and they can begin again and say, okay, I've done my taxes. I know I want to apply for the child benefit. Are there other benefits that I might also be eligible for? And they can begin their exploration again of other benefit possibilities. Another example we'll take a look at in her case would be Manitoba Child Benefit. Note that what happens here is it says that it's an easy application and it doesn't require tax filing. However, it does tell us that a prerequisite that's required here is that she's getting the Canada Child Benefit. So again, we start to be seeing that layer of different navigation requirements first. So tax return, apply for Canada Child Benefit. Once we've got confirmation that's being received, now there can be a Manitoba Child Benefit that could be applied for. And again, within this particular benefit, we'll see the eligibility, identification, how to apply, all identified there. We're going to indicate we're interested, and then there's also hyperlinks right within the details of the different benefit to take you directly to, in this case, the provincial benefit site. So it becomes quite clear that there are many things that she might be eligible for once she has been able to manage the steps to get all of the other first steps in place. So a couple of things that might be helpful to us as we are doing this on behalf or with a client is if you are on a waypoint on that continuum of service delivery that says, I can't do it all, where do you go to send the person to get that kind of help that might be needed? And there are a couple of places you can connect with here. So first of all, we'll see the little chat at the bottom right always shows up that says need help. And it's when you click on that, it'll take you to the agencies in your province that might be able to provide this support. So Community Financial Counseling Services is the one that pops up first in our particular area. So in addition to doing the need help on the bottom, there is also the help button up on the top that will take you to the same place. Other really beneficial tools for assisting, if you look up on the top right to the left of where the provinces you've chosen, you can choose the agency portal. And this agency portal information will give you links to the different Prosper Canada training that might be beneficial to you as you are working with clients and realizing that some supports and additional resources to move forward would be beneficial here. In the form of getting additional training through Prosper. There's links to those, but there's also links to resources you can use with a client, which would include an action plan template. And so in Aaliyah's situation, we could identify her goals here as connecting with an organization to do her taxes and then following up with Canada Child Benefit, etc. So there are a number of different places where you would be able to get some supports to be able to help Aaliyah out as you help her navigate through this. So just jumping back to our dashboard quickly here, we've shown you how to save the session, but an important thing to remember is to clear your session as well, so that Aaliyah's information is not going to shape the outcomes for another client that you might work with. But this can certainly be a really beneficial tool to use, and we can see in Aaliyah's circumstance, there were many possibilities that we could explore with her further, beginning with getting that tax return filed. So just this is a quick view of what would show up in the email that you would get that was sent to you. It will give you a session link. It will also attach a copy of the benefits that would have a PDF of the benefit possibilities and a QR code to be able to connect directly back to Aaliyah's session information with very little difficulty and no re-entering of data. And then just a reminder that you would need to clear your session. So it can certainly be a really, really beneficial tool to either look at how you can advance or enhance what you're already doing at the various waypoints you find yourself on as we sort of take a quick review back on this continuum. Where do you find yourself as an organization right now or a program delivery? Where would you like to see yourself going? And how could the Benefits Wayfinder tool be part of what would allow you to advance and enhance the financial empowerment initiatives you take with your clients? And what it often really comes down to, in our experience, working with other communities in our other organizations in our community, is first of all starting off with assessing what you as an organization or program are, where you're at on that continuum. What are your needs and the readiness? Are you in a place where your current program or your level of resourcing and knowledge place you where you know you're doing everything you possibly can? What would you like to do to move forward? Can you identify where there are opportunities to connect to existing within your existing programs? Perhaps it's already a natural fit to bring in the Wayfinder tool and enhance and advance your programs that way. Perhaps it's a matter of saying, what is needed to move along the continuum further? Do I need to actually have additional training and knowledge, whether it's Benefits Wayfinder, whether it's financial empowerment, whether it's trauma-informed approach? What kind of training and knowledge growth do we need to see in our program? Can some of that come through connecting with Prosper Canada and their training programs that were shown on the agency portal there and that Carrie's going to refer to in just a moment? What is it that you perhaps already have in your program that is a way that you can add to the service delivery of your own program or other collaborative organizations that you're working with in that intersectoral kind of a way? One thing that we have seen can be a barrier to being able to provide this service is often not being able to deliver first language financial empowerment initiatives. Perhaps your program works with a newcomer group and already does it in first language, and you could be a translator who would be able to assist in delivering the service that another organization you can connect with might offer, but you can do it in first language. What an important impact that can be to trying to reach those people who need it. Perhaps you have a physical space that allows for you to see larger volumes of people, and you could offer your space to other organizations and collaboratively do a service delivery day where you might be able to share in the outcomes as a result of improving the benefits for community members of all different groups. And then, so, you know, where is collaboration really going to be ideal for you? That it's not a case of saying, I need to be able to do it all and we have to be a full service organization, but seeing how your strengths and your capabilities and your resources are already very good and could be blended with those of other organizations to magnify impact. And to just reiterate what Morgan said earlier, that it doesn't really matter where you find yourself on the continuum. There's no bad place to be in that continuum of service delivery. What you're already doing is significant and impactful. What we're hoping that you will see from our experience and our sort of perspective on how we try to make this work and with other organizations is that there could be many opportunities for intersectoral collaboration, for the use of resources such as the Benefit Wayfinder tool, and that might pique interest in considering where opportunities do lie within your programs, within your organizations, within your connections and networks, to be able to enhance and to advance the financial empowerment initiatives in the newcomer communities that you might be able to offer. And the Benefit Wayfinder tool has certainly provided a wonderful opportunity for that to continue in our organization.
Thank you so much, Sally and Morgan. It was such a wealth of information. And I know we have a couple of questions coming in from our audience that we'll get to in a few minutes. I just wanted to recap some of the key points through the presentation today. We wanted to just restate that U.S. frontline workers have this really unique opportunity to support newcomers with access to benefits. And as you saw from Morgan's presentation, that the impact can be quite significant. And that there are ways to get started with helping your clients, no matter where you are on the continuum, whether it's providing those minimal or light touch services, or you might be providing more full service. The Benefits Wayfinder can help identify and organize benefits that your clients may be eligible for, and you can use it in different ways to meet individual needs. So on this slide here, you'll see this is also available for download, so you can always go back to these links. That in this slide, we're identifying some of the features that were available on the Benefits Wayfinder itself that Sally had already mentioned, like the help section for contact information to agencies providing tax filing or access to benefit supports, the agency portal that has resources and links to training. There's a training module that's available through the Prosper Canada online training website. And then there are tip sheets and tools that you can download for use during a session with a client. On the next slide, there's a link there, once again, to the Benefits Wayfinder. We encourage you to go into the site and explore, play around with it. There is a video available that the link is available on YouTube that you can go back to anytime, just as a quick refresher of all the different features that are available and how to navigate to the different sections of the tool. If you take the Prosper Canada training, we have prepared a support guide for all those who complete the training that you can take away, you can print, you can download. It has practice case scenarios, it has very handy resource checklists, and then the link. We encourage you to check that out. And then there are links there to our training and additional resources as well. And with that, we wanted to just mention that as a sort of accompaniment site to the Benefits Wayfinder, we recently completed a pilot program to actually build out an information portal on disability benefits. So this is called the Disability Benefits Compass. And in each province and territory, there are generally 4 key disability benefits that people with disabilities might be eligible for. And beyond just eligibility information, actually has very detailed step-by-step on what to do, how to apply. In addition, what to do if if the client that you're working with gets denied, and then very detailed step-by-step on how to navigate that process, because we know that disability benefits tend to be quite complex to access. And with that, we're going to go into a question, and I think I'll direct this one to Sally, and it has to do with kind of opening up conversations about benefits. And this attendee asks, are there gender considerations in terms of opening up conversations, I'm presuming about benefits or maybe about finances with members of a family?
That certainly can be the case, yes. Now, a couple of different perspectives here. One is culturally, there can be some differences in the way sort of who becomes allowed or is responsible to address different benefit opportunities or tax filing details, etc. That certainly can be a sensitive topic. And then there are those who identify as where their gender issues are perhaps something that is sensitive to them. So obviously we always want to be aware of the cultural differences and the individual personal differences in our conversations. For the most part, when it comes to tax filing, for example, identifying gender is actually not necessary. That's the exception here is in Quebec. The CRA does require gender identified, but in all the other provinces, tax filing, gender is not required. However, there are some current circumstances where, for example, Canada Child Benefit is always paid in the name of the mother. The only way it would be paid in the name of the father in the household would be if the mother has identified that she does not want it to come in her name, she wants it to come in her partner's name. So there are some inherent issues that have to be navigated around. I think that in general, again, taking the trauma-informed approach, as well as just simply being aware of the sensitivity around money discussions, being able to identify sort of generally, are there benefits that are being missed or tax filing details that are being missed, and being able to as a household, even if it's possible, to address those questions and identify what are the requirements in order to be eligible, and support in achieving those requirements as much as we possibly can. One other key thing to note is that for Canada Child Benefit in particular, as an example here, Canada Revenue fairly recently has identified that if there are issues of family violence, they will never require that the individual that is applying for benefits or asking for a change in benefits has to obtain information from the spouse or the former partner that they are concerned about. They are able to do that without requiring that sort of proof, and that's relatively new that is allowed.
All right, thanks so much, Sally. We have another question that came in. It's kind of a two-parter, so perhaps Morgan can answer one portion and then Sally can follow up. And this question is around clients who aren't aware of government benefits, and then they maybe missed benefits for the first few years that they were in Canada. So is there anything on the Benefits Wayfinder or any resources that are out there, Morgan, that that we can refer people to find this information, or how can we help them access this information?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that, with the Benefits Wayfinder tool, again, it's going to always have those call outs of kind of what the eligibility is and whether things like tax filing are involved. And so, as one of those sort of conversation starters that Sally mentioned, if your client has indicated that they're not up to date on getting their taxes filed, that's a great place to start in making sure that they've gotten up to date, so that that has been kind of taken care of, so that any benefits like the GST credit that they might be entitled to are continuing to flow and will come to them because of filing those taxes. And then on the on the Benefits Wayfinder as well, as Sally mentioned, there are links to each benefit that will take you to more information, and in some cases directly to applications or the government site that will give information around what that eligibility is, and sort of the criteria on how far back someone might be able to go to get those. And then I think the final thing is also that's where connecting with a local organization like Community Financial Counseling Services, you would be able to connect with your client or a client directly with us to help navigate through these processes and answer some of those questions of, hey, I think I might be eligible for this, and I think I was actually eligible a while ago, but I didn't apply. What are my options? What's the process to navigate this? And, what are the steps that I might need to take in order to go through this process? So, Sally, anything to add there?
I think the only thing to add is sort of more of a general comment. Federal benefits, for the most part, not in all cases, but in many cases, you actually could go back as far as 10 years to apply for something that you were entitled to at the time, but didn't know about and hadn't applied for. That is not the case with provincial benefits necessarily, and depends on from province to province how far back you might be able to go. Here in Manitoba, benefit programs that are refundable credits that are on the tax return, you can only go back 3 years, not 10. Other actual benefit programs that are tied to the income on a tax return but are not specifically tax credits, some of those are not retroactive at all. So it will vary depending on your province. But if we're talking about some of the big ones that for newcomers in particular, eligibility for GST, eligibility for the Canada Child Benefit, if that was not received from the date they arrived, or they first became eligible if they came in as a temporary resident, it may be possible to go back and still fill out the forms that would have been required had somebody known they needed to do it at the time they got here, and any missing credits they will be caught up on. But filing the tax return and applying for the benefits for the years to come, it's filing the tax return that keeps it going. It's not like, if they've been here 5 years, they haven't missed 5 years of benefits unless they never filed. They may have missed the benefits for the quarters right after they arrived, before they filed a tax return, and it isn't too late to go back and get those with the right documents.
Wonderful. Actually, I think we covered the both sections of the question that were asked just through your responses. That was really helpful. Yeah, so with that, I think unless there are any questions that want to come in last minute, we'll just give a few seconds for anyone to enter those. But otherwise, we do want to thank everyone on the line for attending today. So we also thank Pathways to Prosperity for setting up this opportunity to have this very important conversation and to enable us to share some resources to help your clients and support newcomers in our communities. So the Benefits Wayfinder was developed by Prosper Canada, sponsored by TD Bank Group, and supported by Maple Leaf Center for Action on Food Security. And we appreciate your time and all of your contributions and your questions and your attendance today. And we hope that we have the chance to connect with you again. Have a wonderful rest of the day.